Alrighty guys, so here we are. So we've been progressing, whatever. We've been moving along on getting research done. It's cooking right along. I had said I was going to pick up the modules, and then after that, we were going to concentrate on things like damage stuff. And that's kind of where we are. So this is slowly but surely cooking along and what have you. When the time has come, we're going to go up here and deal with our nuclear situation. And deal with our power situation so that we can revamp this and then we can get this running and we can get trains running and things like that. I'm going to hate myself for doing this, but we're going to do it anyway temporarily. Eventually we're going to train stuff up there, blah, blah, blah. And we're going to probably make this longer because once we change this over to, now that we've changed it, well, we've changed some of it over to red belts. These ones that I'm using, in order to deal with the shortages we were having in copper and iron and steel, I went ahead and put in red belts. But just for the ones that we're using, not for all of them, because that would be really stupid. But anyway, we're going to expand this because now we got the red belts. We can service 48 at a time, as opposed to I think the 24 or whatever it is that we're doing. Anyway, we're gonna expand this out. So, as much as I hate to do this, we're gonna do it because we're gonna need iron. Oops. You know what? Let's do it with a red splitter there so that we don't screw up our throughput. Let me get down here and get one red splitter because we went through all the trouble of putting all those red belts in, and then we're going to put down a yellow splitter and slow the whole works down. So let me go ahead and put a red splitter in there. Anyway, we are going to go up and get our nuke plant started. We're going to get our nuke plant started. We're going to start doing our Koverex processing of our materials, etc., etc. That is our plan for the day. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get our plant installed. All right, so come out past it, and then we're just going to go up. And like I say, I hate belting this. I hate to belt this stuff up there because, it's a waste of running the belts up and stuff. We are eventually going to train this and set up train stations and what have you. We just haven't started doing trains yet, which is kind of interesting. I don't know if you guys have noticed. There's someone comments on my videos, and I've mentioned him a few times by the name of Joe Mama. And I don't know whether I've kind of clarified things or not. Maybe I've made mention of it. Some of you who have been here for a while, I'm sure, definitely know who he is. Joe Mama and I were both in the Army together. We were both in the same job specialty together, and we were stationed together for a while up in Fort Lewis, Washington. So I've known Joe for a lot of years at this point. I mean, I retired in '04, and I knew him before I retired. I knew him when I was in the Army. So I've known him for quite a number of years now. We have, because of our backgrounds of being in the same job in the Army, we tend to have a lot of similar interests or the same interests in some respects. Plus, we geek. We have that commonality of the job, so we're able to geek out on certain things and what have you. So, one of the common interests we have is we both play Factorio because it kind of scratches that itch in different ways for both of us. And recently, he has started playing again. Now, I've been playing for a little bit longer this time around than he has, so I'm a little farther ahead of him in that regard. although from looking at the videos you wouldn't know it. But the reason for that is I've been recording and posting my videos a week or so in advance. So even this one, you won't be seeing this video for, I don't know, 4 or 5 days before it'll post now that it's done. In the meantime, I've been following his videos, and he's been posting, it seems, pretty regular with regards to when he's played versus when he's posted. He seems to be doing it pretty close to around the same amount of time, although he does a bit more polishing and editing to his videos than I do. So I'm sure there's some time tied up in that. I get done a video and I chunk it on YouTube. It's just me being lazy. I could go through and edit and stuff like that, but I just don't. But anyway, I've been following his stuff, and we've been talking back and forth, and I've been looking at his videos, and he's been looking at mine. And it's kind of interesting. Like I say, we have a lot of the same background commonalities. We're going to put this, what I'm going to do, before we get back into that discussion, is I went ahead and, let me turn this off before they start putting stuff down. I went ahead and built the island for the large power plant, so all of the landfill is in for this big sucker. But we haven't started putting the equipment in yet, because this is a lot. This power plant supports huge amounts of energy needs. We don't need it right now. We don't need to be wasting the nuclear fuel on it and uranium ore and what have you. We get closer, we'll put this in. In the meantime, we're going to put in that four core plant. So there's the extent of the island. So we're going to put this 4 core down, but we're going to put it near this one so that as we build this infrastructure, we can pull that other plant up and just transfer over to this one. So we want to pick a spot that it'll fit, but a spot that's kind of close to this one, so that we can start bringing our stuff over. And that's what I'm kind of looking for right now. I don't know, maybe we bring it up a little further. Will that fit in there, with the exception of the trees and stuff? So maybe we'll sit it right here. I think we'll sit it right here. So we're going to have the bots go ahead and do this, and it is a little close to that other plant, so we're going to have to be careful that it doesn't share the stuff with that other plant. But I think we're going to put it right there. And we are far enough away from our main factory that none of the bots from down there are going to kind of try and come and take care of this thing. So we're going to go ahead and turn our bots back on. In my inventory, I have all the stuff we need to build this puppy. So we're going to get it started. And while that's, I'll finish the conversation while we're doing that. So anyway, so Joe and I kind of know each other, just, you know, from our time together. And like I say, we have a lot of things in common with regards to thought process and experiences and things like that. Now, Joe and I have different degrees. I didn't have a degree when I went in the Army. I waited until I got out of the Army, and I went to school, and I ended up, because I already had my career from the Army, I chose a little bit of a different path. And I went to school for movie making and visual communications and photography and stuff like that. And I ended up teaching it, and I really liked it. Joe, on the other hand, he actually has a degree in nuclear power. I'm not sure exactly what his degree title is, but I do know he's got a degree in nuclear power. So that is something that he is more knowledgeable in than I am, although we have some of the same electrical background. But, like I say, we have a lot of the same interests. And right now we are currently in kind of the same phase of Factorio. In other words, we're both working on some very similar parts to our gameplay. We're in kind of that mid-game stage, but we're in that mid-game stage in the same place almost. So it is interesting to go back and forth and look at his stuff and look at my stuff, because even though we are doing the exact same end goal and we're addressing some of the same issues and ways of doing things, we definitely have different problem solving styles, if you will. We both approach things from a different viewpoint. Not to say that one is better than the other or anything like that. They're simply different, and it is interesting to look at the way he does things versus the way I do things. I tend towards, and it has been commented before by people, I like on my base, I tend to turtle and build up walls. Some people don't do that. Some people do that. Do that. I tend to turtle, and I tend to build up all of my infrastructure before I go out and start doing things like trains and things like that. Joe, on the other hand, he tends towards kind of the opposite. He tends towards why is that one covered if we put it there? I'm looking over here. There's a substation here. Maybe because but this one says it's powered, whereas this one, there's a substation here, and that's the exact same spot, but that's not covered. Where is that one getting its power from? That's there, that's there, that's there. How is this one getting power? What is it getting power from? It says from those two substations. But I've put this one in the exact same spot. I thought maybe I got to move it over by one. Maybe there it is. Okay, I was wrong. It wasn't over by one. So anyway, so I tend to do things where I build up and build up and build up. Like before I do my railroads, I have built up all of my stuff. Whereas Joe tends more towards a bootstrap style, where he builds it as he goes and pushes forward quicker than I do. So it's interesting to see the difference in styles. We're you know, because like I say, we're both headed in the same direction, but we're going about it differently. So like Joe already has trains. I don't. I have the ability to make trains, but I have not been laying down any track. Joe, on the other hand, has made a lot of strides towards getting a lot of track lane. I just haven't done it because I've kind of prioritized other things like building up larger production and what have you. So it's interesting to see the differences in the way the two of us kind of approach things. And I very much recommend that if you get the chance, I don't have his link in my description. I'll have to add it at some point. But if you look down in the comments of a lot of the videos, you'll see him down there, and you can find his page through there. Eventually, I will get it into the description for the videos, and you can click on it there. I definitely recommend you go over and check his stuff out versus my stuff, because we definitely have different ways of doing things. And one of the things that I've kind of always believed is it's never a bad thing to look at how someone else is doing something. I'm not saying either way is right. I'm not saying either way is wrong. In fact, I have a real issue with people who have this tendency to tell someone how to hobby their hobby because they're not doing their hobby the same way that person's doing their hobby, and therefore you're doing your hobby wrong because you're not doing it the way I'm doing it. And I have a real problem with those kinds of people because it's a hobby and I'm doing it for my enjoyment and my entertainment. And if it's meeting my goals for that, then what business is it of yours? Now, don't get me wrong. There are certain quote-unquote accepted best practices within Factorio. But none of them are hard and fast rules, and none of them are the only way you can play this game. So I'm not saying go over and do it the way Joe does it. I'm not saying go over and, do it here. I'm saying look at the different styles, find what works for you, because everybody has a different way of doing things. And what works for one person may not work for another. And as a matter of fact, I hate to say it, but I just ended up blocking somebody on Facebook for that very reason, because we were talking about a video that I just released, that I had recorded as a partner to this video. So it was going to release on the same day this video does, but now I've released it early because it's talking about SR latches, it's talking about controlling power plants, and it's talking about load balancing and load sharing and things like that. And I recorded it to go along with this video, but someone needed that information. They were asking how to do it, so I said, here, fine, I'll go ahead and I'll release it early. And we got into a discussion about it, and I posted on the Factorio Facebook page, and someone else chimed in with how it was a useless way of doing things or something, and you should just overbuild and go with it and just ignore the ratios. And I explained, look, this is I prefer doing it this way. And that person came back with, a bunch of who struck John on why his way was the right way and the better way and this, that, and the other. And I ended up blocking him because that sort of thing, I have no time for it. It's one thing to discuss the merits of different methodology and different ways of doing things, and maybe some ways are better than others in some respects, and maybe some ways are not as good, are worse. But it's one thing to have that discussion. It's another to attempt to shove your way of doing a hobby, and literally this is a hobby, it's a game, it's entertainment, even though it is technical and it is something that you get a lot out of. At the end of the day, it's a game. So in my mind, it takes a lot of gall and a lot of chutzpah, if you will, to come along and try to tell somebody else that they're doing it wrong because they don't do it the way you do it. And I ended up blocking the guy. So my point is, I'm not saying do it this way because this is the way I do it. I'm not saying do it that way because that's the way Joe does it. I'm saying check it out. There are other people on YouTube as well. I recommend you checking out a lot of different things, because there's something that you may see the way that somebody does something that clicks for you and doesn't click for me, or vice versa, or what have you. So broaden your horizons. You'd be surprised what you learn. One of the things when this discussion opened up, because the discussion opened up, I put down a thing saying that I thought that one of the bigger unsung heroes within Factorio was the power switch, because I use it a lot. I use it to separate out plants and things like that. And something came up in that discussion that I never had given a thought to. When I set up my my refinery, and you guys have seen it at this point, I use pumps in order to control my fluid flow, my into and out of fluid flow. And I use pumps and I use wires. Somebody commented on that post that they actually use those power switches and SR latches to control their fluid system. Now, I never thought of that. The thought never occurred to me. Now, in listening to their discussion and in thinking about it, I can go back and I can see where it would be applicable. But it's not something that ever occurred to me. Now, in all honesty, because this is a quote-unquote vanilla game, although it's Space Age, I'm using pumps as valves within this game. But I normally use the mod called, I believe it's fluid handling, which provides you with certain valves that allows you to do some of the things that I end up doing with pumps. It allows you to set the levels of how much goes into a tank and things like that. And they're automated. You don't have to run the wires and everything else. So I use that. But since I'm not using that, I'm back to using my pump method. And it genuinely never occurred to me to, instead of using pumps, to use the power switches. And now I'm going to actually go back and look at that as a possibility. So, like I said, I fully encourage you to go look at Joe's stuff, go look at some other people's stuff, learn some different ways of doing things, because there's with Factorio, there are 50,000 ways to do 50 million things. And none of them is wrong, and none of them is right. They all have their pluses and minuses. They all have what works and what doesn't. So go back and check it out. Now, while we've been doing that, I've been tearing this down because I want to move this. And I want to move it over closer to where we're going to be working. So I'm just tearing this down and just basically shifting it. Now, as far as the discussion about SR latches and the power switches, I was initially going to put that in this video, but I decided not to because I kind of felt it would change the pace of this video. Not that these are the greatest paced videos in the world, but it would get us off on a tangent that I didn't necessarily want to go down right now in this video. But I will tell you what they are. I will tell you how I use them so that you can then go over and check out that video. And what an SR latch is basically the easiest way for me to describe it is it's similar to a light switch. If you turn a light switch on, the light switch stays on until you turn it off. And then when you turn it off, it stays on until you turn it back on. So an SR latch stays in one of two states and doesn't change unless an outside force changes it. In the case of a light switch, it would be your hand. In the case of an SR latch, we're going to set a number and have it change based on that number. And I go through in that video and I show how to set one up. And what I use them for, although we haven't done one in this video or in this series yet, is I use them to control when my power plants turn on and turn off. Because once I have a nuclear plant, it's going to carry most of my load most of the time. Occasionally there's going to be instances where I need more power, like when the lasers fire or something like that. But I don't want to run a steam plant all the time to cover that extra power, or I don't want to build a huge power plant like that 12 core one, a 4 core will do most of the time. So an SR latch lets me turn off other power plants on and off as I need them. That really came in handy with space exploration, where you have the coronal mass ejections, because when those come out and you run the protection for them, you need a huge amount of power during the coronal mass ejections. The rest of the time you don't. So it's nice to be able to have those available when you need them and turn them off the rest of the time. And that's one of the big things I use the SR latches for. And I also use them for like when I'm running a lot of solar or whatever like that. So in that supplemental video, I talk about how to use them. And you can use them for a lot of things. Like I said, apparently somebody's using them to control their refinery. I've always just used them for my power plants. Because like when I set up my steam plants, and I set up a bunch of steam plants, I like to be able to turn them off sequentially. So I'll set up a steam plant and put a switch on it, and then set up another steam plant and put a switch on it, so on and so forth. So I may have like 4 or 5 steam plants. But I don't want them running all at once, and I don't want them turned off all at once. So I'll set it up so that they come on and turn off sequentially as I need them. And that's one of the things you can do with this SR latch. So it's, even though it's already published and you're going to see it and I'm going to talk about it, just know that it's not something that we've gotten to in this series yet because it hasn't caught up. But it is definitely some good information that's out there. So what we're doing now that I've gotten the long blah 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 out of the way is I've got my power plant built. I'm going to set up my fuel processing, and we've researched Koverex, so now I'm going to set up my Koverex as well. Now I'm going to leave these over here for right now. I just need a couple more chests to finish out this build. Alright. And apparently everything else is filled, so we got this one more chest that we can swipe here. We don't have any steel with us. We'll grab what we can. We'll put it in a chest over there. We'll come back for the rest later. I'm trying to get it transferred over here. So we're going to go ahead and set up our Koverex, and we're going to set up our fuel cell manufacturing, our nuclear fuel manufacturing, which is why I brought that line of iron up, because we need that for this. We're going to have iron for setting up our fuel for our power plant. So there's one more. And we've got a bunch of the dark spicy rocks, and we've definitely gotten a lot of the light colored spicy rocks. That's one of those things. You need a bunch of the light colored spicy rocks, the shiny spicy rocks, to get things started in your Koverex. Once you get it started, it's kind of self-maintaining, but it takes a long time to get these initially. Let's look at this. So the shiny spicy rocks are 0.7% of the production when you refine fuel, which is going to take you forever to get the first 20 that you need. I think it's 20. It's either 20 or 40 that you need for Koverex. Let's see, it's 40. So you've got to get 40 of those spicy rocks at less than 1% per production. So that was why I started this early and got it over here and got it started in the chests so that we can start dealing with it, because we need to have it for what we're doing. Now, here's where, okay, we're going to do a couple of things here. Let's do this first. I brought up all of these beacons. Now, the new beacon system is a little different than what you used to, because it used to be you could stack beacons and it was no problem and what have you. Now beacons, when they overlap, it's diminishing returns. So if we look at this, right, and we look down here, you'll see that it says beacons, 6 beacons, 40.82% each. So if I take one away, now it's 5 beacons, it's 44.72. 4 beacons, now it's 50% each. So every time you add a beacon, the effect goes down. So there is a point at which it becomes a matter of diminishing returns. And it may or may not be worth it to you to bring over and put all these beacons like I did. You may decide, no, it's not worth it to build that many. I went ahead and did it, and I'm going to put speed beacons in, speed modules in these. Even though they're module 1s, you know, it helps a little. I didn't mean to put it in there. It's the wrong button. I'll have to go back and get that one. So I'm going to put speed beacons in these, and then in these I'm going to put productivity beacons, so that every time it gets to the end of the productivity bar gets filled, I will get an extra shiny rock. And you'll see this production bonus filled up. And I'll get an extra shiny rock. Or I'll get an extra spicy rock. I think it's an extra shiny rock, but I'll get an extra spicy rock each time. So these will make them faster. This will give me more of them. Okay, so that's why we put both of them in there. And we're going to go ahead. Did I not bring any short pole, any small poles? I guess not. So anyway, we'll hook that up. And we're going to go over and we're going to run our lines over here so we can get this back to processing again. There's no sense while we're building the rest of this letting this sit idle if we can bring this over and start processing the rest of this ore. Plus we won't have to run back and forth because we'll bring the iron over as well, and then we can sit over there and build and talk to our heart's content. Or until I bore the hell out of you, one of the two. And I'm not going to worry about using undergrounds on the cliffs. We should have enough undergrounds because this is all going to get pulled up eventually anyway. When we get the trains going. And we are going to get the trains going next. And the reason we're going to do that is because we've started having biters come and interact with our walls, and I want to get the trains going so that we can start our repair bots on our walls and maintain our walls. So next episode after this one, we will be doing trains. I know we've put it off because we've been doing other things. And again, it's just a matter of priorities. I tend to get a little focused on certain things. And if I'm focused on that thing, then the other stuff just kind of doesn't get done until I get around to it. Alright, now this we are going to move up a couple. Just to get around these pipes. And then we'll probably end up having to change it again and to line it up, but I just want to get it around the pipes. Oh, our batteries ran out on our suit. Hopefully we will have enough belts to get over here and to get everything done. Now what I should have done, because I have the tank now, should have drove up here in the tank and filled the tank up with the belts and stuff like that, but I didn't do that because I'm stupid, and that's just the way it is. I've learned to live with it, trust me guys. I know I'm stupid. I've learned to live with it. I think what we're going to do, I'm going to bring this up here. I'm going to bring it a little further first. On the plus side, as far as belts, we've got iron up here now. We can always make the belts that we need. Hey, what do you know? We missed most of the telephone poles. And we can actually get these telephone poles out of the way because our production is so far down here now that we can do that. And that gives us a couple of poles. We'll worry about picking that stuff up on our way back. And now, the enemy of the game. Alright, close enough. Now it's where we need it to be. Let's get rid of this stuff that's in our hand. We'll put that in there. So now that can get back to processing. And off camera, I won't bore you, I'll bring over the rest of it and put it in these chests so that we've got it there. Okay, so now let's talk about Koverex. So the way Koverex works is you have one of these hold on just a second. I think I didn't want to sneeze on you. It's threatening, but it's not. It's not there. It's going to be right at the edge for until I. Excuse me. There we go. Finally, thank you. All right. So we're going to pick Koverex. Okay, and what Koverex does is it's going to take in 40 uranium-235, the shiny rocks, and it's going to take 5 of the dull rocks, the 238s, and then it's going to process it, and it's going to give you 41 of the shiny ones and 2 of the dull ones. So every time you run this process, you lose 3 dull ones and you gain 1 shiny one. The shiny ones are the ones you need for everything. That's the ones you really... You get a crap ton of the 238. You don't get hardly any 235. And 235 is what you really need to make fuel. It's what you need to make nuclear fuel. It's what you need to make atomic bomb, the atomic missiles, etc., etc. So you need that 235. But you don't hardly get any of it. So this is a way of turning 238 into 235. They call it a Koverex process. It's not really a real thing, although there is uranium enrichment. It's different, but it's sort of like this. Anyway, the point being, you've got to do this process, and you get this stuff out. So there are a lot of ways, again, with everything, there are a lot of ways to do things. This is how I set this up. Okay, so we're going to the one that's right on the edge here, and we're going to go 1 out. Okay, and then we're going to go a space over, and a space over, and then a space down, and that's that for the chests. Okay. I'm going to use fast inserters for all of this because we're dealing in numbers of 40s and this and that and the other. So we're going to bring 1 out. We're going to take 1 this way and back in. We're going to take 1 over here, down, and back in. Okay? So what I'm going to do is this one's going to take everything out of this and put it in this chest. Then I'm going to program this one to be a filter. And I'm going to take my shiny rocks and put it over here. So it's going to put the shiny rocks into here. And then I'm going to take my dull rocks and I'm going to put them there. All right? So 235, 238. We need all the 238 we can get into here to keep feeding it. The 235, on the other hand, we want to keep some of that because once we've got our initial 40 in here, that will maintain the process, and it'll give us 1 more. It will spit the 1 out, put the 40 back in, and just keep those going while we process the crap out of this. Okay? So that's our plan. But we also want to keep some of it. Right? So how do we keep some of it and get rid of the rest of it? And I think I may have screwed the pooch in that I didn't bring up enough reds. So we'll have to get down here and grab some iron, make some red undergrounds. Luckily we're not doing splitters because splitters would take green circuits and we don't have copper up here. So what we're going to do is we are going to put into from here, from this belt, right? The belt's going to go away, but for right now, we're going to put in all of our 238, right? We're going to keep filling this up to keep this full because that's going to make us our 235. And we're going to take out the occasional 235 that we want. But if you notice, this is all going to be on the same belt. We could do one of 2 things. We could put the 238 in on the close side and just have it on the close side, and then take the 235 out on the far side. But if we double this plant up, which is what we want to do, and not horizontal, vertical, and we put another one on this side, the problem is this one is going to be fine because it'll be able to take from that side. This one, though, is going to put it on the opposite side of this one. And there's no way in the vanilla game to tell this to only put it on the one side. Okay? So belts is not our solution for this. It's just not going to work. So what we're going to do is we're going to belt weave. So if we come in here, right, and we use a different color belt, and we come in here, these belts will stay separated. So now, if we grab this, we can make more of these ad nauseum. All right. But then we just have to make sure that this belt and this belt are going the same, are picking up the same thing. So rather than it pointing that way, which is what we had, we'll do that. That belt and that belt are connected, right? And then that belt and that belt are connected, and so on down the line. Meanwhile, this belt and this belt are connected, and then this belt and this belt are connected. So the goes outa is going to go on the yellow belt, the goes into is going to go on the red belt, and we're just going to keep lacing them down the line. Does that make sense to everybody, I hope? And I'm not, you know what, before we make another blueprint, let us set up the rest of this, because we're going to need some wiring to set this up. Okay? And I'm going to do something real quick just to get rid of all the flashy. We're going to put one here, just because I want to get rid of the flashies. Okay? So now, like I said, we need 40 in this to make it work. All right? But I want to have 40 standing by so that we've already got the next one, so that when this comes out, it can immediately put in. So what I'm going to do, I keep going up here to grab red wire when we don't have red wire up there anymore. It's down here. Muscle memory being what it is. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to wire from this chest to this inserter, because we can now control all of these and what have you. And I'm going to tell this one to read, excuse me, I'm going to tell the box, read the contents, right? And we're going to tell this that enable disable, and uranium-235, and when it is greater than 40, all right? So what that will do is it'll hold 40 in this box, and then when I get 41 from a process, it'll kick out that one and send it down the line. That way there'll be 40 here that can go in here. The 40 that are in here will come out and go back in here. And because this is fast inserters and these are slow inserters, by the time this gets around to getting to it, it will have already processed it. Okay? On this side, on the other hand, I don't want this to overfill this chest, because then the stuff that comes, we want to prioritize what's coming out of here. So if I overfill this chest, and this chest is completely full, there's no place else to put anything else, the stuff that's in here can't get out and come in here. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to grab a wire. We're going to hook up to the chest. We're going to hook up to the inserter. And we're going to tell this to enable disable if 238 is, well, I don't know, what I forget what it stacks to. Let's see, a full chest. I thought we had a full chest here. No, we don't have a full chest. Okay, so it stacks to 100. There's there's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4,000, 4,800, right? So if we tell this that if it's less than, let's say, 4,500, okay? So if it's less than 4,500, add more to it. If it's not, it's going to stop at 4,500. That's going to be, wait, oh, those are steel chests. I'm sorry. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 3,200. All right? So if we go to 3,000, let's say 3,000 instead of that. So if we go to set that at 3,000. If it's less than 3,000, it'll add to the chest, but that will leave me room for 200. So when this kicks out, it'll be able to go in here, and then that's going to go in here, and that's going to go in here. Okay, so it's always going to keep these filled up, and it's always going to keep these available for this. So now we can go ahead and do the rest of our stuff the same way. So we go from the box to the switch, and then from the box to the switch, and then make sure we're doing it right here. Box to switch, box to switch, box to switch, or not switch, inserter, box to 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 inserter, right? So now we've got all of these wired up. We just got to copy it. So this one is this one, and this one, and so on. This one is this one and this one. And then same thing over here. This one is this one. 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 All right. So they should all be on the same sheet of music. Now we can get rid of this. And we can fill in the belts where we need to. All right. Which we really shouldn't need to fill in any belts, because all of these will be the undergrounds, and they will continue to go on down the line. Those are all undergrounds. They'll continue to go on down the line. Since this is the first one, it's the only one that really matters. So now we can copy this or create a blueprint for this, and we can just do this right on down the line. So that's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 14. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14. Okay? And I don't think I brought, oh, I think I only brought up 13 of those. We need some more red undergrounds, so we'll make some more red undergrounds. And let me go here, down here, and grab some more iron while we're at it. How we doing? Okay, we're doing fine. Alright, so that's going to give us our in and our out for our 235. Now we don't want 238 coming back out of this. We don't care about it coming out, because we're wanting to hold it here and process it into 235. The only thing we want out is the 235. All right. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to move this around a little bit. We're going to tuck it in down here. Come on. There we go. So there's that. So now let's grab this, make it one blueprint, and pick all this up and move it. We're just going to tuck it in a little better. We can help these guys out a little bit. Make it a race to see which one of us gets the stuff first. Alright. Which one was it? It was this one, right? So, we can bring this down here closer, and actually, we may beacon these as well. So let us leave ourselves room for a beacon, because the beacons are the same size as the factories, as the assemblers. So let us put it up far enough that we can beacon it. And I think we'll put it right there, because that'll give us room to manipulate these two lines. And while you guys are doing that, we're going to go ahead and manipulate these two lines. So now that we are done with starting our initial process of refining this into our 235, we don't need to put it in chests anymore. We can go ahead and bring it up here now. Alright, we do need to bring in our 238 though. The only reason I used the red belts was to be able to lace, because if these were red and these were red, they wouldn't lace between the two. But because they're different types of belts, you can lace the two of them on the same row. It's a way to save some space. It's a way to do the little insertion trick that we want it to be able to do. So now we can bring this over and bring it down to this guy. Okay, we're going to leave the chests here for now because we're not ready to have this completely running. Now maybe we will pick up these. How much space is left in these? We'll pick up this one and this one, and we'll just leave those two chests that are there. We don't need the rest of this anymore, because we don't want to waste not processing this stuff. We can pick this up later, and in fact, when we do, we can shorten this line and just bring it straight over. In fact, why don't we do that right now? Rather than doing this, let's do this. Bring that right straight over. Give me back that shiny one. That was our fault for doing that. Alright, so that'll go in and start doing that. Now we can give this guy his power back, and they can start storing stuff until we're ready for it. We still haven't powered any of that. Okay. So that will take all of our spicy rocks into here, all our dull spicy rocks. And then this will take all of our shiny spicy rocks. And we could run it down through here, but I'm going to put those beacons down through there now. So we're going to run it up the other side. So we'll just run it up. And we'll cross this one. And even though we're making red belts, we don't need red belts for this. This doesn't have to be fast, because the reactors don't use fuel that fast. I just wanted to leave myself enough room for more beacons. Alright, so that's going to be our shiny rocks. Any shiny rocks that come out of here, because these, like I say, will refresh themselves internally. So any shiny rocks we get from here, we're going to use. Any shiny rocks that we get here are going to reuse themselves, except for the ones we don't that we don't need anymore. And those are going to come out and combine with these. Right? So these will be nothing but 235. Alright? Now, along with needing 238 for this process, we also need 238 to make fuel cells. So we're going to bring that up so that we can also make fuel cells. Okay? So between the two of those is what's going to allow us to make fuel cells. Part of it will go in here, part of it will go in here, and what we ultimately may do is we may prioritize this to go to that side first. We'll see. This should fill, they should both fill up. I mean, right now, because of the fact that we have so few fuel coming in, is why this isn't getting much. Plus the fact that initially these chests are going to fill up because we've told it to keep, you know, a minimum amount here. So what we may end up doing is prioritizing this side once these are filled up. So then we're going to go up here and we're going to start making our fuel. And our fuel is here. And that's fuel. And so it needs 1 235 and 19 238. Right? So one of those, 19 of those, and it needs iron. So that's why our iron, we brought it up here. So, and this could, I'm sure this plant could be neater, but I mean, we've got that much space. Does it need to be neater? Alright, so that's going to give us what we need to make fuel cells. And every process is going to give us 10 fuel cells. Right? Now, the other thing we can do is we can unprocess depleted uranium. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to, isn't it this? Alright, we're just going to pick this one up and this one because you're going to try and be stupid about it. Alright, over here we are going to undo our fuel cells. Right? So every time we get one of those, 5 of those, it's going to give us back 3 238s, which we will put back into the process and start it all over again. Alright? So we're going to need a requester chest here, because we're going to automate all of this. So we're going to need a requester chest there. And that requester chest is going to ask for Where is it? It's right there, right? Yeah. It's going to ask for spent fuel cells. And at least 50 infinite, it doesn't matter because it's immediately going to process them. All right? So as long as we're asking for them, it'll bring them over, put them in here, and that'll process them, spit them back out, and spit them out up here. And it'll process through, and then we'll spit them out up here into a provider chest. Okay? And that provider chest will make them available to go into the plant. Alright? So we'll continually process them through, and they'll go into the plant. And then over at the plant, I know we've gotten a little long, it's been an hour, but we want to get this completely set up. What we're going to do is we are going to put in 4 requester chests and 4 provider chests. Oops. I did a stupid. I'm doing a lot of stupids lately. Right? So these will request fuel. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to do, let's say 10 at a time. Okay? Because it doesn't need to be a huge amount. Actually, we can do it this way. Copy, paste, copy, paste. Oh, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. So they should all be requesting 10. These ones, it's not going to request anything. It's just sending them back out. All right? So then that puts in, that. All right, we're going to have to move them out one more because we can't put them on the pipe. So we're going to have to move them out one more. And then that puts out, that puts out, that puts out, that puts out. Not a problem. So in, copy, paste, pick them up. In, copy, paste. So now they should be requesting. All right, so that's going to take it out of there, put it into the plant. This is going to take it out of the plant, put it in here, so then the bots can come over and put it into our processing, which is down here. So we're going to have to put some RoboPorts up here. We brought some RoboPorts, so that'll be all well and good. In fact, we'll put one of them right there, and that will cover both ends. And as long as we stay connected, right, and within our RoboPort range, we're going to have to do it with 2. That's fine. We'll put one there and one right there. All right. So now the bots can get all the way around to where they need to go, and all of that good stuff. All right. Oop. My bad. We need to keep that powered up. We're going to have to go down here and power this up and that stuff, but that's not a problem. We're not ready for that yet. So that's going to give us our fuel in. They're going to carry back and forth. We brought up, I am pretty sure, of course we didn't. We didn't bring up any logistics spots. I will have to bring logistics spots up. That'll take care of that. Now, with the water changes, we don't need as much water as we once did. So this is set up for pumps at all 4 of these on the ends for a pump for each two. But I don't think we need that anymore. I think we can get away with this quite easily. If we do one there, and we come out and we drag that down to the water, and we put in a pump, so there's a pump for that side. There's a pump for that side. Let's bring it closer over here. We're still close to, oh, I don't want you guys doing that yet. All right, you guys stop it. Not quite. Okay. All right, so fine. We'll do it there. We'll add pipes here. All right, so there's water to that side. And the reason I'm doing it to all 4 sides, but doubling it up, is because these aren't connected, so it doesn't go all the way around. So it's just going to be easier to run 4 pumps. Right, so there's that one, that one, that one. We just have the other side to do. And we could, no we can't, because we can't reach that far. Alright, not a problem. We can come out to the far side of this. Oh. No, we're okay. We'll do this one to here. Do this one to here. And we'll bring another pump down beside it. One, two, three, 4 pumps. 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, right? Okay, so now all we need to do is to hook, that is our grid. That should be hooked into our grid. Oh, these don't have power because they're not close enough to that. Fine. We can fix that like this. So that is everybody there. That is the robo port there, right? And then once that's charged up, that'll have signal. That robo port is already charged up. That robo port's charged up. That one's not, and this doesn't have power. And that is easy peasy, lemon squeezy to fix this. We just do that there. Let's get out of the way of it. that there. And that there. And then we're going to want to get that out of the way. So we'll move it over a little. We'll put no real convenient place, is there? That'll cover that. Then that's the only one that's still not hooked up, is up there. We can solve that with this one. Right, so now everybody is hooked up. That's charging up. That's starting to make our fuel cells. We just have to seed this. So, we need 40 into there. Into there. 40 into there. $40 into there. And we're going to cut this off for right now because we want to be able to seed the rest of these first. What are you doing? Oh, because there's nobody there. Oh, that's right, because we picked this guy up. Let's do something here real quick. Let's put this guy back here. Tell him to unpack fuel. And then we will... I thought... Is it map view that we got to do for this? Yeah, it's map view. Alright. So then, there and there. Right? So now, we'll have to bring up more and fill them on this, but then that will get everything going. And then we just have to wait for these stupid ones to fill up. Alright? So we're going to need some more shiny rocks, and we're definitely going to need some more dull rocks, but we've got a ton of dull rocks over at the other location. We'll bring them over here, and they will get put into these ones. So, we've got our fuel coming in, being processed, coming out, being Koverexed, and some of it going up and being made into fuel, some of it coming over and being made into 238, which can then, or 235, which can then be made into fuel. The fuel will come out of here and go over, and we don't want that going into there yet, so we won't bring the bots up yet. But when we bring the bots up, they will start carrying fuel back and forth. And this is connected into the grid. So there we go, guys. We've got our power plant up and running, or up. We've got it set up. We don't have it up and running, but we've got it set up. We've got all our fuel processing and our Koverex all set up and ready to go. We just need to bring up bots. We need to bring up a couple of more centrifuges, what have you. now that we've done this, if you haven't looked at that video, the bonus video that posted on today, which is actually Halloween Day, Halloween, it's the 31st. Whether it's evening or afternoon is immaterial. But anyway, it posted on the 31st. It's called Bonus SR Latch and peak shaving or something like that, I think. If you're really interested in how to control these and control your grid, take a look at it. I think that will cover us. I'm going to do the moving this stuff off camera, and we will get started on the next one. We're going to do trains. That's where we're headed next, because we want to start getting trains down here so that we can have repair bots to take care of things like this. All right, guys? So that's it. I will talk at you in the next episode. Have a good day. Bye.